What is happening, Blades? Welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am Jimmy the Blade, and thank you for joining us. We are, of course, sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. I would normally have their logo in the corner or wherever it might be, but don't know how to do that on live because one of them, innit? But if you do have a growing business that you want to continue growth with, and they are the people to speak to. So, apologies for what I'm going to sort of call a snap ramble tonight. I had a couple of options. I've been busy at work today, so I couldn't record anything sort of to go out pre-recorded. I didn't really have a massive topic. And again, I don't want to sort of put stuff out just for the sake of it. I have got something in the can with Andy the Blade that I'm going to release tomorrow. And that is, that's probably my favorite video that I've done with him. That's going to be really good. So I'm really excited about that. But I didn't want to release things back to back with my dad, just to sort of vary the content a little bit. And then we can jump into like the Newcastle preview and things like that going on. But this is a video that it's cringe because it sounds a little bit self-indulgent, if I'm honest, to sort of ask me anything. You know, who am I? What difference does it make? But I have had a lot of requests for this. So I'm just going to throw it out there and we're going to go with it. And if it's, you know, popular, then great. If nobody sees it, then that's fair enough. And it's one of these things that you try into when you're a new YouTube channel. And we are still a new channel. We've only been going over just over a year. So I have got us a few to start off as well. But I'll just jump into a couple of comments because a few of you have already jumped in to say hello. So LA Blades, good evening, pal. Hi, pal. That scouting video where your dad did. Who was the best player he scouted? We'll come to that. We'll come to that, mate. Wayne says hi. Good evening, pal. Good evening to everybody. Let's jump into this. Let's jump into this then. What on the scouting video that my dad did, who was the best player he scouted? So I love doing these videos with my dad because it's always such a good laugh. And listen, I know that they're not going to be the most popular in terms of what people want to talk about, but I genuinely believe that these are some of my best content videos, the ones with my dad. So I get why they wouldn't get immediate traction, but if you look at the feedback that we're getting for those videos for the people that do watch them, I'm not going to push you to individual videos often, but I'm really proud of those videos. Other than my dad's internet connection, which is an absolute shambles, and I'm assured is now fixed, but time will tell, won't it? So who was the best player he scouted? This is very much subjective, and but obviously have a knowledge of a history of players that he scouted, and he often consulted with me at times, not to get a definitive answer, but what do you reckon? Because this is what he can do, this is what he can't do. Do you know much about this player? Do you not? I would say, going across all the teams that he worked for, the best player was Tim Cahill, Everton from Millwall. He looked at a quartet from Millwall that he wanted to sign, or he recommended that Everton look at signing, not definitely sign, but he went to watch Millwall a couple of times. Ironically, and he may correct me if I'm wrong with this, but I think it was because we were doing our famous let's watch United and see what United players we can get. But Millwall had a really talented team at that time, and the star of the show was Tim Cahill. There was also Stephen Reed there, Lucas Neal, and Neil Harris. They were the four, and obviously they all went on to have very good careers, but Cahill was the star of the bunch. And I would say that because obviously my dad's worked for Chelsea as well under Vialli, but a couple of things with that. Obviously there's better players at Chelsea, but it's not just a one-man call that. That's more of a team consensus. So my dad might go and watch a player, think he's great, and then they'll send another scout for an alternative opinion who might think he's okay, and then that player probably just gets added to the shortlist, if you like. It's only with a general consensus, but at smaller setups, and obviously Everton's still a massive club, but there was a lot more direct contact with the chief scout and the manager. And what do you think to this one, Andy? And he had a lot more direct involvement with Cahill coming. So I would say, in terms of his longevity as well, and obviously he went on to be a great player for Everton, I'd say Tim Cahill. But the lower down you go, like he talked about signing Darren Moore from Donny, that was solely my dad's call. So he went direct to Cammy and said, look, mate, this kid is a player. I'm not saying he weren't watched from further on than that by other people. I'm sure Chris went to watch him himself afterwards, but it was the lower down you go, and obviously the less resources you haven't got the luxury of sending 3-4 people to watch, and you rely on your individuals. So yeah, long story short, and I appreciate that's a long-winded answer, but Tim Cahill, I would say, was up there. Mark says, what's the latest on the sale of the club? It's very quiet. I haven't got an update on this, I'm afraid. Don't know. Your guess will be as good as mine. I know that we're talking to interested parties all the time. What I would say, though, is if you look at what's happening to Everton now, for those that aren't aware, the 777 investment group have agreed, it's not been ratified yet, but they've agreed to take over Everton from that Managerial, I think it is, who's got so much money it's untrue, but obviously hasn't run the club all that well due to the current state. Well, they look like a really dodgy outfit. They were in for us at one stage, or certainly rumoured to be in with us, and we were looking at them being a potential buyer. And I'm glad, in hindsight, I'm glad that we're taking time to get the right people in. I appreciate we've had a couple of massive missteps with Henry Maurice, Dozy, and then potentially this 777 group. So I'd rather we took longer to get the right person in, Mark, to be fair. But apologies, I can't give you more of an update than that. Can I ever see United becoming a real force, says Kristen, aye, mate, in the Premiership and challenging for the top 6? Or do you always think we'll be the underdogs and be a yo-yo club? I'm a big believer, and you may or may not agree, that every club has a natural position in the pyramid. And without significant outside investment, which is a game changer, like Man City, I don't think naturally are supposed to be the best team in the country, but because of the significant investment, and Newcastle will probably eventually get there, I think, they're naturally a Premier League club, but not quite top of the tree. I think our natural position as a club is top-end Championship, always pushing to get out. I don't think we're a bona fide Premier League club. I think over time we could become a permanent fixture in the Premier League, but I think everybody eventually finds their level. You look at teams like Stoke, who spent a significant time in the Premier League. I still would never have considered Stoke a bona fide Premier League side. I'd say the same about Bournemouth now. I don't think Bournemouth are a Premier League club. And that's no offence to them as a club or anything like that. I just think everybody has their natural position in the hierarchy. As much as I hate to say it, and I do hate to say this, but I think Leeds are probably a Premier League club. There's no divine right to be there at all. And they're where they are currently on merit. But I think when everything settles and over the longevity of football, if you like, I think they'll spend more times in the top division than they will anywhere else. So it's just my opinion, pal. So without significant investment, I think the best we can hope for is being a yo-yo club that eventually sort of sneaks over the line of, 13th to 16th every year if we can. That's what we've got to aim for. What big purchase happened after Saturday? So Paul, for those that are new here, Paul is referring to my terrible record of I don't take losses very well. I'm just a bad loser. I'm a bad winner, but I'm a bad loser. And before the big one was a caravan. I bought a caravan because I weren't happy with the result. One day, I think I'd bought a car. Another time, ridiculous decisions just to make myself feel better. I don't advise it to anybody because you end up in a financial hole that you struggle to get out of. But, enough about that. Scott, member for a month. He's actually been a member for longer than a month, I believe. But he's come back, can't you, pal? So thank you for that. Happy 1 month anniversary. I don't know whether that's to you or to me, but cheers, pal. Who do you think should start up front with Archer? I think McAtee. Do you mean on Sunday, Wayne? Because if you mean on Sunday with McBurney being out, I tend to agree. I wouldn't say up front, but I'd have Archer off. I'd have McAtee off Archer. In usual circumstances, I think it's a partnership between Archer and McBurney. And like we were talking about with my dad yesterday, I don't think we've enough underneath, unfortunately. So I think McAtee. In fact, that might be on tomorrow's video. So for me, at the weekend, it's going to be Archer with McAtee just off, maybe Hamer a little bit further back, and Norwood and Sousa sat. That's the way I'm going against Newcastle. And I fancy, as you know, I think we've every chance. Every chance. Yeah, sorry, Scott, I've just covered that, pal. Sorry to bring it back up, but still gutted about it. It's all right, Luke. We're all there to recover together, pal. You're okay. Even a point would have been crucial to us, especially considering our next run of games. Nonetheless, up the blades. Absolutely right. And it's the circumstances that hurts, isn't it? I think if anybody would have said at the beginning of the season, but even now that they're on a great run, you're going to lose at Tottenham, unfortunately, this season. You'd have taken it in your stride, wouldn't you? So it's one of them, really, that anything else would have been a bonus. But, yeah, due to the circumstances it happened, it's a kicker, isn't it? It is a kicker. There's no other way of looking at it. Did you see Arsenal took 26 and a half seconds to take their corner against Everton? Not a yellow or even a warning for them. Of course I did. I think there's less and less of an argument now to say it's biased towards big clubs. It were in our Ramblers chat today, and I didn't realise this. Because I can't remember who raised it. But I didn't know that Sky part fund the Referees Association. So if that's the case, then Sky have got a vested interest, or the refs have got a vested interest in doing what's best for Sky TV. There's also the story that when Mark Halsey has gone on under the cosh and said, "Oh yeah, I've made decisions that I've been asked to look away and stuff like that, and I've made decisions that are on reflection I shouldn't have made and things like not a mistake, but an intentional decision that swayed a game." It's frightening how corrupt these sort of things are coming to light. It's stuff we all, I think, suspected were happening, but I'm wondering if it will get done, to be honest. And let's be honest, I doubt it. What's the situation with Eki and the utter nonsense I'm reading on the internet? It'll be atrocious if he's sacked. Gaza, there's no way Eki gets sacked at the moment. And I say at the moment because nobody's sort of bulletproof in that regard. I'd be amazed if he's sacked. As long as we have strong fighting spirit and we continue to turn up in every game and look better in every game, it's just not falling for us at the minute. It's like luck is not on our side. If we're getting dominated every week and absolutely rolled over, then it might be a different conversation. But we're 5 games in, and yeah, it don't look good on paper at all. But anybody that's seen us will know that we've got better every game. And yeah, I don't think he's in any danger, mate. No problem at all with that. We'll never be a top half Premier League team without money and a board who know what they're doing. It's true. Everybody needs that, don't they? I know what the implication is there, Lee, and more than entitled to your opinion, pal. I think money is the key, obviously. But even you could have shed loads of money and still not know what you're doing. Okay, 2 glaring examples. Everton, Mashiri's got bucket loads of money, don't know what he's doing, and it's a sideshow, isn't it, their club at the minute. And I'd say Forest as well. I think Forest are the worst run club in the Premier League. You look at players that they've not included in the squad after paying 10 million quid. And Lewis O'Brien obviously is the obvious one, but just throwing money at it. But fortunately for them, they've thrown enough money at it that I now think they'll survive and they'll be fairly comfortable. But it's still a poorly run club, isn't it? You can have money, but you need to know what you're doing as well. Hey up, LD. If it all goes wrong and Eki ends up going, would you actually have Wilder back for another run? Or has that ship sailed for you now? I think you know what I'm going to... I know we haven't talked about it since these rumours came up, pal. This is my brother, by the way. Dave the Blade. Only if Eki goes, this is just my opinion, and I get all the negativity and those that argue against. But if Eki goes, I would bring Wilder in, but I wouldn't bring Wilder in to sack Eki, if you know what I mean. I love Chris Wilder. I think he brought this club together like nobody else. I think one of the major reasons he failed in the second season in the Prem was because there were no crowd and there were nobody to give him his mojo back. I think we'd have all rallied round and been able to keep him upbeat and what have you. And I understand people's opinion on him, and I know why you've teed me up for this, pal. But I'm going to be honest with you because I always try to be. Away in Europe to away in the league is a respite for dropping points, do you think? I hope so. You're obviously alluding to Newcastle. It's always a tough turnaround to come away from Europe midweek and then go away from home in the league. So let's hope that any small margins like that can go in our favour. But I'm confident. I'm confident for the weekend. We've always got a chance. Gus Amer and Cameron Archer in our team always got a chance. Who do you think will struggle to attract? Why do you think we'll struggle to attract significant interest, says Kristen? Up to now, do you think investors don't find us appealing enough to, let's say, Man City or Newcastle? I've seen several theories on this. You can look at it being a two-club city, whereas Leeds would be a more appealing investment. I don't necessarily buy into that, even though the fans are split in the city, obviously. But you've got Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Everton, and all the London clubs, obviously, that split the boroughs. But for me, that's not a good enough excuse. I think a lot of it is how far they can take their investment in the city and what scale they can get us to as a club. And that's going into more technical terms than I know about personally. But these are some of the reasons that have been sort of mooted for that. I think also they've got to assess whether we're going to be a Premier League club this time next year. And now that the transfer window's closed, some will question whether that's going to be the case or not. Can somebody at the club sort this Wilder replacing Eki rubbish? Much as I love Chris, Eki's the man now. I agree, Dean. It's been nice to have sort of someone come out and say, but they're not going to, because if they did, then every time a rumor like this came out, next thing could be, somebody else is coming in, for example. But you can't comment on every rumor because otherwise it fuels more, if you're honest. He's not going, and if he did, I'd get Nick Montgomery back in a flash. Well, Nick Montgomery's done a great job, just gone in at Hibs. Be interesting to see how he does there, to be honest, because he's got a really good growing reputation as a manager. Sarah says, have you heard anything else about Wilder? Do you think all the talk about him taking over has anything to do with Eki kicking off about the refs and also the media? No, I wouldn't say so. I think I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know anything about this, if this has happened or not, if we've spoken to Wilder about whether that be about one day returning or whether that be about current circumstances. Have you any ideas on what we can do to improve? But I don't for 1 minute think Eki's job's under threat. Evening, Rich. Hope you're okay, pal. How do Dublin Blade? Great listening to KFC yesterday. Although he needs to sort out Tinterweb. KFC? Tinterweb, great. Listen, mate, ask him about McBurney live. There's no chance of me getting him on a live. No chance. Not yet, anyway. As I say, I'm working on it, and I think he's warming to it a little bit. Can we stop the Wilder nonsense too? If he wants a job, then he can make Eki his cuppa in the morning. But no way should he be anywhere near replacing Eki. Please, 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 United defenders, kick the ball into Rosie. It's cost us twice. Man City and Spurs. I'm with you there, Pete. Absolutely right. It's basics, innit? Football 101. We get taught that at Sunday League. If in doubt. I wouldn't want us to be a billionaire club. It's less fun, shall we say. Listen, this is it, Mike, isn't it? Because loads of people will have different ways of thinking. The majority of people would say, let's get taken over by a billionaire. It's brilliant. But I think me and Johnny talked about it when I spoke to him on Ramble. Mike's one of those, and I understand it, wouldn't want us to be that billionaire club that loses its heart and soul, really, because that's what we're about as a club. Evening, Messiah, behave yourself. So Pep saying earlier, City have an increase in injury list. They can't take Maka back before January. Not before January, pal. I don't even know if there's a recall, but there may be. Anyway, we can reassess that in January, can't we? We might want to, I mean, I don't know if it was in yesterday's or it's in tomorrow's, but I know my dad questioned whether Maka was the right, although he rates him as a player and thinks he's very good. Is he the right loan signing for us in terms of what we need in our squad? I'd argue yes, but he put an argument forward to say, not to say definitely not either, but just to say might be. Oh, look at Wilder in January as the only suitable replacement, says Footballbook. So, all about opinions, isn't it? All about, I'm never going to turn Chris Wilder down. My cards are on the table with that. I think he's the best manager we've ever had. And I understand that, never go back and all this sort of thing. And I think that's right when it comes to ex-partners. But I don't know about ex-managers. I think he's fantastic. What did you think to the poll on the WhatsApp group yesterday? Would you have Illiman back on loan in January? I didn't vote on that poll. I did see it. I was like busy at work, but I did see it pop up. I would 100,000 million, whatever you want to do, I would definitely have Illiman back. And I think anybody that says they wouldn't is delusional. But because he definitely improves our side, doesn't he? But where does he get in the side? He gets in, but who comes out? For me, it's got to be McBurney, really, although McBurney's played great. But that changes the whole way we play. And listen, it's fantasy to even think about it, if I'm honest, because the way what people are doing is seeing Illiman's stop-start start to life at Marseille. I think he's been sort of playing an hour, getting subbed off, being frustrated, or coming on for the last half an hour, being frustrated. Well, their manager has resigned now after 7 games. So people are like, brilliant, get him back. Well, for me, that's worse. Somebody that wasn't playing him or wasn't using him to his full potential has now gone. And chances are, most likely, I believe, that he will go on to play more minutes, more games, and flourish like we all thought he would do anyway. So, although, of course, I'd love Illiman back, as the same time here, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. Traore for McBurney against Newcastle, go with pace up top. Maybe he might do that, but I think I'd be surprised if it were anything other than McAtee just back a little bit from Archer, who should be furthest man forward, playing on shoulder at last man anyway. Are we going to stay up, Jimmy? I'm hopeful, but I've got a feeling we may just fall short, not getting the rub of the green. I'm always positive, mate, but not in a sort of deluded kind of way. So I'm not just going to come on and rah, yes, we'll stay up. And it's an even bigger sickener when you see the tide turning against you, because you start to think, not going our way, this. It's not falling for us. I think to give you a definite answer, I'd need to see next 5 games rather than just the first. If our luck doesn't change, and I think that's what it is, a lot of it is luck, doesn't change over the next 5 games, then I'll probably say we won't survive. But I am convinced that this starting 11, and that's what it is, the starting 11 is strong enough to stay up. So keeping them fit and available, which includes McBurney's daft red card, which I'm not blaming him for, but you're on a yellow and it's needless. We've got to keep him available. Lou Dog got his first goal for Donny last night. League 2 Haaland on the way. Yes, he did. It were in the EFL Trophy, weren't it? The Pizza Cup or whatever they call it. But yeah, brilliant to see him off the mark. He will be a player for us. He's a Rambler, he's old Louis Marsh as well. So, evening, Louis. Well done, pal. Evening, Ollie. Just come home from training. Who's your dream person to interview? I have answered this before, I think, but thank you for the question. Chris Wilder. Chris Wilder would be, with it being a Blades podcast, a Blades channel, whatever you want to call it. I think, yeah, he's the person that sort of had me feeling at my highest for United. And yeah, I think there's interesting topics to discuss as well. He's the type of person that I think will probably answer anything. Whether I could put it out, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, Wilder would be my one. Did you see it Wednesday massive 20 tennis ball protest? I did as well. I saw that ridiculous protest. I saw one of the most boring games I've ever watched last night because I wanted to see Borough beat it. I found myself this week cheering for Forest and Borough. Who would have said that like 6 months ago? But I wanted Forest to beat Burnley, obviously, and I definitely wanted Borough to beat Wednesday last night. Yeah, they stopped the game with 20 tennis balls that came onto the pitch to protest against Tuna Man. And I also saw about 20 of them jump an Ipswich fan and not be able to put him down. So, whereas Ethan, I don't know if Ethan, the United fan, who got jumped by Spurs fans at the weekend, don't know if you saw that, but well done, Ethan. Odds on our survival going into the last day. West Ham agreed to sell Paqueta to Man City and conveniently win away at the Etihad to secure their survival. The old, it's classic West Ham. Classic West Ham. Have you got tickets for any away games this year? No, I haven't. And I'm not sure I will. And I know that's frowned upon and it's not great. There's a couple of reasons. My loyalty points won't stretch due to my scouting background largely, but also I have to concede some time to the family as well, because I have two great loves in this world, and one is United and the other is my family. And I'm not going to tell you which one's higher, but I need some time with my wife, my girls, and my wider family as well. So I'll watch every game, no, absolutely no doubt about it. But I'm unlikely to be at many away games, if any. Slightly longer than my ear. Fair dues, pal. Evening, Shaz. Have you watched One at all? Looking a quite good prospect, having scored for the under-18s and under-23s. Scope for a partnership between Blades and Hibs now that Monty's boss. Great topic that, Shaz. One are signing from Hamilton Academicals, and Sheffield United Way have done a profile video on him if you want to catch that, because I don't know anything about him other than what I've heard. I'd not seen him before he joined United, but he started for the under-18s earlier in the week. I think it was, or late last week. Scored. That earned him a place on bench for under-21s. Came off the bench, scored. This kid, 17-year-old, got a bit of everything. Striker, strong, quick. I tell you what, we have got some youth set up. I know we're not Cat 1, but we have got some youth set up at this club. Something we can be really proud of. Evening, Tom. Well, I think it'll be a different case at home. Archer struggled to get involved last weekend. I'd be worried without a target man to feed off. He could get isolated once again. Yeah, that's true, and that's fair. That is a fair point. So would you then, Tom, having that considered that we obviously ain't got another target man other than McBurney to feed off, so would you be looking at 2 10s, a little bit like we did with Illy and Gibbs-White? So would you look at 2 10s behind Archer and have Hamer in the 10 as well as McAtee, and then just have Norwood and Sousa sit in? Whereas I'd probably have Hamer slightly further back just to secure us a bit. But let me know. Let me know what you think. Illiman not happy at Marseille. Come back to Sheffield United on loan. I'll be happy then. He's not coming back. Listen, I hope I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong on that, but can't see it. Billy in LA is banging the goals in stateside. Hope he gets a contract over there. Yeah, me too. I think he's only got it for the last, there's 4, or there'll probably be 3 months now left of their season. And he only got a deal to the end of that season. But they are definitely going to sign him up, aren't they? Evening, Alex. How do you feel about Slimani? Does he deserve a start? Really like the look of Slimani. Obviously, I've only seen as much as you guys have. I've watched the under-21s games when he's played and stuff, and I really like the look of him. I don't think he gets in, if I'm honest. Not at the moment. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve that or he won't deserve that long term. He's got to start impacting the game from the bench, because he's not going to get in front of Hamer, Sousa, and Norwood at minute, but also McAtee, obviously. So that's what I'd say. Can you remember Jonathan Forte? Of course I can. I bumped into him the other day and got me thinking, if he's someone you'd interview, I'd be interested in speaking to anybody, to be honest, mate. Anybody United related, if there's interest in it. I don't want to disrespect Forte by saying that, and I don't mean him particularly, but anybody that you think of that is loosely related to United or even football, I'd be happy to do. John says, I think we need to be a little bit more confident in our ability. Our negative play in the last 20 brought so much pressure on. Maybe I'm blinkered, but I believe in this team to play proper football. I agree, John, and I think in first half we really showed that, an attacking intent. I think he's set up to be quite aggressive and front foot and pressing, but it's a tiring game chasing the ball for 85 minutes. And I just think, whether consciously or subconsciously, we got more and more into a shell as we were going on. So it were tough. And I understand what you're saying. I'm as frustrated as everybody in terms of the lack of concentration in the last few minutes. But it's understandable, even if it's not, great to watch. They say, never meet your heroes, Illiman. Once a blade. Absolutely right. Bellingham with another winner from Madrid. Not players related, but class. He is absolute top class, in Bellingham. Future England captain, surely. What are your opinions on Ollie Arblaster? Fellow Rambler, Ollie Arblaster. Love him. Think he's great. Think he's a future Blades captain, if I'm honest. I would love to see that. I think he's showing He's certainly up there, if not the top performer at Port Vale already. Scored his first professional goal last night. Really rate Ollie Arblaster. Really rate him. So yeah, get him signed up because his contract situation isn't sorted yet. Stick Basham up front as a target man, moving swiftly on. Bumped into a Sula today, as you do. Hobbling about on Sydney Street, right foot in a brace. Don't look like he'll be available for a while. That's not good news. Don't like that. A different system agreed. Element of surprise, absolutely. Kerry Jowett, Twitter royalty. Finally thought I'd give it a go and join. Just as you're talking about dropping Ollie Mack. Whoa, thin ice. Could be first and last. Why is this your first one? Is my first question. But I'm only dropping Ollie Mack for Illiman. Anyway, I think he's been great this season. Absolutely great. Hi, Luke. Although I hate to say it, I thought Burnley looked a lot better against Forest. However, I also thought Forest looked dreadful. However, I think them Blades will batter again at the lane. I didn't think they were up to much, to be honest. I thought they grew in confidence as game went on because Forest was so poor. But I think we're a better side than Burnley. I have no qualms in saying that. On Sunday, push Aimer as a 10 with Maka and then play Slimani and Sousa behind him. Why are you dropping Norwood? For Slimani? Listen, that's a bit of an old school thing for me. I don't think Norwood deserves to be dropped. Dublin Blade, thank you, pal, for your super chat. Really appreciate that. Or super sticker, whatever it's called. Whatever it is, it's very much appreciated. Danny says he'd push Archer up front and use Hamer just behind, then put Slimani in his place if fit. If not, use Davis. So is that McAtee coming out for you? Noah, what's your prediction for the Newcastle game? I've said quite a ridiculous scoreline in Sheffield United away predictions, which we'll be recording. Well, we'll be live tomorrow night. But I think we'll beat them. I think we'll beat Newcastle, and I think it's probably only going to be. No, I'm going to say 2-0. I'm going to say 2-0. 2-0 United. We go in front early doors. They push and push and push, and then we nick another one. I'm an Archer. Marsh also looking good in the 21s. And at Donny Rovers, is he still playing for our 21s? I don't think he is he? He's at Donny full time. I might be wrong, Alex. You tell me if I'm wrong, mate. I've also got some questions from some of our Ramblers because it's just a random Ask Me Anything. Where are the questions that I had? Just in the Andy the Blade podcast, he said you've been in and around clubs. What jobs or roles have you had? Was or are you a scout too? So I was a scout, a football scout for the first team at Bristol Rovers and Colchester United and Rotherham. And what you tend to find is that you go around with the same people. So my chief scout brought me to every club that he went to. That doesn't always happen, but it did for me anyway. So yeah, I was a scout. I was a scout for 4 or 5 years, and then when my girls were born, I packed in because I was working full time, and I couldn't be away Tuesday, Wednesday evenings, every Tuesday, Wednesday evening, because you're watching one game and then you go into another game the following night. You go into a Saturday game, then you're writing up your reports on the Sunday. Too much, and obviously I've got a young family, and yeah, it was tough going. Where do you see the channel in 5 years' time? Don't know. Where do I see it in 5 months' time? Really, we're aiming for 5K before Christmas Day, aren't we? But look, I want to continue putting out quality Blades content because I enjoy it. It's not really I have to be here by that. Although that sort of completely negates what I'm saying. But with 5K, I just want to get into the realm of being a fairly big size channel, so we get more opportunities. It's not a case of chasing to one particular goal, but I'd love to still be doing this. I'd love to have sort of developed and get myself into garage, which you can't see now because it's too dark, obviously. But that's the aim, is to get it to grow the channel, absolutely. But just, I think the biggest challenge in that, as you get bigger, is retaining that authenticity and sort of I'm never going to lose the fact that I'm a Blade. And I'm just exactly the same as everybody else, but I'm just recording myself talking about it. So I want to continue to be authentic and relatable and all that sort of stuff. And as long as I'm doing that, I think we'll amble along just fine, if I'm honest, and hopefully grow at the same time. Quickfire questions. Right, I'll go through these and I'll catch up on comments and we'll potentially wrap it up. Favorite band is the 1975, no doubt about it. Absolute top class. Favorite takeaway, Indian, chicken madras from Abdul's, if anybody's local to my area. Or Kashmiri aroma, absolutely top draw. No pets. I don't have any pets. Do I have a claim to fame outside at Blades Ramble? A little known fact is I have been an extra. I used to be a film extra, just for a little bit of cash when I was leading up to my wedding. I was doing 4 jobs at one point. So I've been on Emmerdale. I've been on Crime Watch as an offender where I was making Molotov cocktails and throwing it at a building. I've been a prisoner in Hollyoaks. I've been in loads of stuff. Just daft, but the daft little anecdotes out there, they're quite funny to sort of look back on. Favorite comedian, I would say Peter Kay. Favorite film, I love The Hangover. I mean, I'll probably think of a better answer if I had a bit of time to think about it. We'll leave it there for them. But thank you for those that have sent those in. Just catching up with comments. Noah's going 2-0 United. It's too late counter-attacks. Love that. Love that positivity. That's what we want. Really hope we stay up, so we just keep Archer. He's head and shoulders above the rest. Build the team around him as a centrepiece. The only thing I'd say with that is, listen, you know how much I love Cameron Archer. I've wanted him to join us ever since I've started the channel, and thankfully that's recorded, so I can, I'm not sort of stretching that. Gus Amer is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable as a player. Do not sleep on Gus Amer. I know you're not, but I don't think Archer's head and shoulders above him. I think they're both Premier League players, but you're right, we have to stay up to keep Archer, obviously. What do you reckon, Jimmy, about 777 takeover of Everton? That could have been us. Yeah, I mentioned it at the top, Danny, but near miss by the looks of it, isn't it? On a full-time loan, was referring to last season. Sorry, mate, I missed that one. My missus is a Toon supporter and had to watch many Newcastle games in the pubs up north. They got frustrated quite easily, so get them on the back foot early doors. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Frustrate them, because they'll come all entitled what they're thinking they're going to turn us over, like a lot of teams will, to be honest. 2-0 Blades on Sunday, Jimmy. Yes, loving this. Do you have to be a past player to become a coach or a manager? No, you very much did. I'm just reading the next comment. It used to be the fact that you did have to have a history in the game to be a coach or a manager, but I don't believe you do now. I mean, Will Still's the obvious example of that, isn't it? But Kezzy's saying the only reason she's here is because Sky Q's not working. Thanks, love. Appreciated. John says, thoughts on Traore? Hate to say it, but I don't reckon much. Thought it was poor when we brought him on against Palace. Needs a bit more timber on him. I'll gladly give him some of mine. Yeah, and me, pal, and me. It's very early days to comment on these lads, particularly the lads who have been signed as development players. Says the lad who's been absolutely mullering Larouci at every opportunity. But I think he's just very raw, Traore. And it's a huge step up from where it's playing. He's been playing, should I say. So I haven't given up on him yet, but he does need to sort of bulk up a little bit, doesn't he, in order to sort of stay on his feet. He just looks so easy to knock off ball. Danny, take a 0-0 on Sunday. Newcastle, tough nut to crack. If Milan can't break them down, how can we? Stranger things have happened, Danny. I think we've got to sort of move past these scraping draws now, unfortunately, and pick up some points where we probably wouldn't have expected to. With us, I think, missing opportunities against Palace and Forest, and even Everton, you could argue. I think we've got to start picking up previously unfancied points, if you like. Is it just me that it's seeing people who haven't watched the game give analysis? It just makes no sense. What's your take, Jimmy? Yeah, don't like it. Don't like it. But everybody's got an opinion. But what does get me go is when people try and come on like they're an expert and they haven't even seen it. They haven't seen what's gone off. You saw loads of people commenting on the Eki incident and stuff like that, where he's complaining about the refs. I can bet you that 90% of those pundits haven't watched us. Everybody's betting against us, and I'm all right with that. But it's lazy journalism rather than informed, if you like. Apparently, we'll let Wes go to Rangers in the summer if he doesn't sign a new deal. Yeah, fair dues. I mean, look, I've been harsh on Wes, and I hold my hands up to a degree. I don't think he's put a foot wrong really this season. I don't think he's been perfect, but I think I've probably been a touch harsh on him, if I'm honest. I do think we need some competition for him though, because when he were down injured against Tottenham, I were panicking. Adam Davis does not fill me with confidence at all. Harsh Kez, thank you, Emma Time. Actually, here for Jimmy Ramble and his elite ball knowledge. Correct. That's what we do here. That's what we do. Elite ball knowledge. That's what the kids say. How do you even start becoming a scout? Good question. Different for everybody. Usually, it's all about connections, which if you watch my dad's video, that is how he got in. He got a connection in the game. But then it's to stay there is harder than getting in, I would say. You've got to prove yourself. And it didn't work for Cammy for that long directly. But you'll see if you watch that video anyway. But my story was very straightforward, really. I mean, I emailed I wasn't ballsy enough to include the Premier League. I emailed all 72 league clubs saying exactly what had happened to me in terms of my background. So I have grown up watching the game. My dad's a professional scout. I didn't name him because I didn't want to sort of use him as a sort of a name drop, if you like, or whatever it might be. I just wanted to see if I could get in on my own merit. But the reason I said that was because I included this in my email. I've grown up watching the game in a different way. He talks to me about analysing the game and breaking it down and patterns of play and things of that nature and assessing and looking for weaknesses. Put all that in my email, sent it off to 72 league clubs. Got two responses. And the first one that came back was Colchester. So, and I have to say, the caveat that I put in was, I'm happy to work for free, travel to games out of my own pocket just to get a chance in the game. And if at the end of it's probably about January time, if at the end of the season you find value in my work, then we can talk about a more permanent arrangement. And that's how I got in. And they didn't, although they appreciated my offer of working for free, they took me on an expenses only deal. So I wasn't being paid, which is common practice, believe it or not. For all the money in the game, a lot of scouts are only on expenses deals, which is ridiculous. I don't know if that's still the case now. It certainly wasn't the case for my dad, who was obviously at the top level. But for those in the football league, the EFL, a lot of it is at expenses only, unless you can commit all your time to it. Mine, it was a part-time deal because I had a full-time job. So, yeah, started working for Colchester. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And that's how I got in. I mean, I can go into more detail as and when, probably another time now because of how long we're going on. But, yeah, really good. Great times as well. It opens loads of doors in terms of meeting people and stuff. Fantastic. Is the Archer a forced buyback if we go down? Yes, it is. It's an obligation to buy back. So Villa must buy him back if we're relegated. Evening, Andrew. Do you think there's any truth to the rumour that Hecky is going to be sacked and Wilder back in? You've not been with us from the start, have you, Andrew? I can tell. No, I don't, mate. No, I don't. I don't think there's any legs to it at all. I was quickly talking to Louis Marsh the other day and he said something similar. That he's a Rambler. That's good to hear. Opinions on Talk Sport. Oh, yeah. Oh, you want my opinions on Talk Sport? I think the clickbait. I think a lot of it is a load of rubbish. But I'll be honest, it's a guilty pleasure. I like listening to White and Jordan. I used to love listening to Laura Woods and Ali McCoist, but they haven't replaced that chemistry yet, and I can't get into it. I quite like listening to Goldstein and Darren Bent, although they're very disrespectful of us, if I'm honest, because they don't do the research. So it winds me up more now that we're in the Prem and they're talking about us, whereas I used to find it just a good crack before. I'm really looking forward, and some of you might not know this, but I'm really looking forward to Jeff Stelling coming in and doing breakfast show, because I've heard strong rumours that that's going to be happening. and that'll change the dynamic completely. We'll all be TalkSport fans then. Opinion on ex-players becoming refs. Is it what the league needs? Potentially, but then, Scott, you open up a whole new can of worms in terms of who did they play for? Well, they used to be so-and-so. Well, they scored against us, or they got sent off against us, and it's dangerous, isn't it? It's dangerous. I don't think you're ever going to get a perfect formula, but the refereeing standards at the moment are poor. And I said that being mates with a Premier League ref, a current Premier League ref. So I know what a really difficult job it is to do. And don't get me wrong, they're very well compensated. But how many of us would be refs? Because I wouldn't be given that job. It's just, you can't win, can you? But I do think the current standard is poor. Right, last few then. Would you do a monthly live chat with Johnny from Shore and View? I think you two would do a good thing when it comes to opinions, news, and talking points, as you both talk sense, but in different ways. I'd be open to that, of course. I would love to talking to Johnny. I know from just messaging him back and forth prior to that we'd get on really well. There were no, and we've both got very different content as well, like we have with alt channels, and we've talked about that before. But of course, I'm open to working with anybody. And as I say, hopefully you get decent chemistry with people, don't you? The one I think I've got the most chemistry with, if I'm honest, and it's for obvious reasons, is my dad. So Andy the Blade, we want you as a regular fixture on the Ramble. The people want you. Don't let the people down, and please come back on the Ramble permanently. Evening, Jimmy, says Ian. I'm confident the way the performance is progressing will be fine. I agree. I had a cheeky little optimistic bet on finishing top half at 50-1. Ian, come on, pal. I think once we get a win, we'll get on a roll. I think that's possible too in terms of getting on a roll. I think if you want to give money away, then just send it my way. That's what I'd say, pal. No, I mean that Louis Marsh said, don't ruin it. Being a past player isn't mandatory, which I'm quite glad about in terms of getting in coaching or managing. Well, best of luck to you, pal, if that's the journey that you're on. But he's also a Rambler. All right. Keep us posted, Noah, if that's what you're doing. And I want to hear about this longer term if you make any inroads or get any success. Refs also support clubs. They do, and they have to declare it. And there's a bit of research done into that as well to make sure that they're declaring the correct club and things of that nature. So, TalkSport pundits are rubbish and they hate the Blades. I agree, Eamon. They do hate the Blades. It seems that way, doesn't it, anyway? It's funny what you say about our underage setup. A Man United fan in work thinks we have a great setup. He even mentioned us and the amount of our ex-players in the England versus Smithy Sox game. Yeah, absolutely. Ian, you didn't have to do that. I was joking, obviously. It was in reference to your 50-1 bet that he's never going to come in. And I hope to God I'm wrong, but it's not happening, is it? He says you did ask nicely. I did. So thank you to everybody that's joined us tonight. Thank you to our Ramblers. If you want to become a Rambler, all the details are down below. Loads of good stuff lined up there, but at the minute we are almost, I think we're 2/3 of the way through our daily rambles. So it's not easy. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a slog. But I'm enjoying it. And I like jumping on and speaking to you. I know we didn't have an awful lot to talk about tonight, but it's nice to be able to keep up to date with stuff, sort of go back and forth. It's like being in pub, isn't it? And having a chat back and forth. What I would say is I've got a video coming out tomorrow with my dad that I've recorded already. Fact or fiction. And it's brilliant. I ask him 9 or 10 questions. I put statements to him such as, is Ollie McBurney a potential Sheffield United captain? And if you want to know what he really thinks about Ollie McBurney, go and watch that video because it's absolutely brilliant. As I say, I need him as a permanent fixture. So if anybody wants to give him abuse or, let him know how much he's wanted on the Ramble, Andy Smith 37 on Twitter, just hammer him with requests. Go follow him. Make sure he's doing what he says he's going to do in terms of his Ramble appearances. But thank you to everybody for watching. It's very much appreciated. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blade.